Hello everyone, welcome back. Tom with Capo Fetish. Today we're going to continue with our Unsung album series. Today we're going to do 1967. These are albums I feel have fallen off the radar for many decades. No one really talks about them as much as, say, Velvet Underground and Nico, Sgt. Pepper, Hendrix, Are You Experienced, Doors' first album, etc., etc. But these are all excellent records as well. 1967 was such an amazing year for albums that, of course, some are going to get lost in the shuffle. So here we go. I'm going to start off with the debut from an amazing artist. Put out a couple of really great records in the late 60s, early 70s, and then she kind of stopped making records after a while and kind of retired, sort of, semi-retired. That artist I'm talking about is Nyro. Her first album is a stellar record. And when it came out, it was first called More Than a Discovery. But this is an issue from 1969. It was reissued a few times, and then it was retitled The First Songs. And then later in the early 70s, it was reissued with a completely different album cover with like flowers. But anyway, this is the second reissue, and this is her first album. And it is just an amazing collection from a really unique, singular talent. We've got Wedding Bell Blues. It starts it off, also covered by The Fifth Dimension. And we've just got a ton of great singer-songwriter songs that are completely unique. Nyro is a completely unique singer-songwriter. Her vocals, for one thing, are just unbelievable, almost operatic. She can sing any range, any kind of song. This album, unlike the Eli and the 13th Confession, the second album, this album is more straightforward pop songs. That one is a little more, she goes on a little more tangents and a little more explorations and experiments. This album is just straight through pop, done in her very unique way. You've got great songs like California Sunshine Boys, Blowin' Away is amazing, Lazy Susan, Goodbye Joe is such a great song. And then you've got Stony End, which Barbra Streisand later covered and made a hit out of in the early 70s. And every song is perfect. He's a Runner, beautiful, I Never Meant to Hurt You. Then she ends the album with And When I Die, another cover song recorded by Blood, Sweat, and Tears off their second album. So yeah, I mean, this is just a solid record. I love Eli and the 13th Confession and New York Tannenberry. Those are just absolute masterpieces. But this is a great, great debut from an amazing artist, Nyro, from 1967. Now, I'm a huge Jefferson Airplane fan. I'm a huge fan of these four albums. Surrealistic Pillow, After Bathing at Baxter's, Crown of Creation, and Volunteers. And throughout the years, kind of like with the Velvet Underground discography, I can't ever pick a favorite. Like Velvet Underground, I liked the Nico album for a while, then Loaded. Same with Jefferson Airplane. For years, I liked Surrealistic Pillow the best. Then I went through a Volunteers period, like Crown of Creation. But after about 30 years of listening more and more, this one's my favorite. After Bathing at Baxter's. What a great psych record. One of the best psych records, I think. I just listened to this the other night. It starts off with The Ballad of You and Me and Punil. Great opening track. Every track on here is just mind-bending. I mean, when you think about Surrealistic Pillow, it's kind of straightforward with little elements of psych. But this album is just full-on psych, and dark psych at that. You have incredible acoustic, eerie song Martha, which I've always loved. Then you have some really great songs that you don't really hear about very much. I really love The Wall Behind, the Last Wall of the Castle is just fantastic. Also on side 2, you have side 2 runs into a little problem with the song Small Change or Spare Change. It goes on just a little too long. I'm okay with the improvisation, but maybe they could have cut that down just a little bit. But other than that track, every track just runs perfectly in a great sequence and segue. Ends with the amazing Two Heads, one of Grace Slick's greatest vocals. Just dark and creepy and just in her just completely unique way. Ends with Won't You Try Sunday afternoon, or is it Saturday afternoon? Won't you try Saturday afternoon? Won't you try Saturday afternoon? Incredible, incredible ending to an amazing record. After Bathing at Baxter's from Jefferson Airplane, their third album. Another great album, too, is the third album by the Young Rascals, also known as the Rascals, the Groovin album. I was just listening to this the other day as well, along with some hits like A Girl Like You, with great vocals by Felix Cavalier. You have How Can I Be Sure with great vocals by Eddie Bricati, another hit. Groovin, #1 song. Another song, You Better Run, which I believe, who is it? Pat Benatar covered in the late 70s. But side 2 of this album is amazing. Groovin, If You Knew, I Don't Love You Anymore, You Better Run, A Place in the Sun, and It's Love. The really underrated record that you don't hear about from 1967 from the Young Rascals. Groovin, fantastic. Another album I've presented in a previous video too is the second album from Tim Hardin. This is an absolute singer-songwriter masterpiece, Tim Hardin 2. There's only 10 songs on it. It's only a little over 30 minutes long, and it is just absolutely phenomenal. Starts off If I Were a Carpenter, song covered by many people. Red Balloon as well. That was actually covered by the Small Faces at one time. Black Sheep Boy. There's another great song on side 2 called Speak Like a Child, with all these really cool chord changes that are unexpected and just flowing into one another. It's just, I don't know. And it ends with tribute to Hank Williams. If you've never heard this album, you need to pick it up. This guy was a true talent, great songwriter, wrote a lot of songs covered by other people. Unfortunately, he had that debilitating heroin addiction, which kind of did him in back in 1980. But great talent. Great talent to discover still to this day. Tim Hardin 2, check it out if you haven't heard it. It is an amazing 5-star record. Another great record is the first album from the Electric Prunes, I Had Too Much a Dream Last Night. That particular single is just a phenomenal psych tune. A lot of other great tunes on here. Side 1 especially is really good. Try Me On for Size. There's a really cool ballad on here called Oni. Really doesn't really fit in with the rest of the album, but it's really gorgeous. You had Are You Lovin' Me More, Bangles, and then there's this really cool song with great lyrics on side 1 called Sold to the Highest Bidder. Then you have another kind of minor hit, Get Me to the World on Time, that starts off side 2. And a few other really good songs on side 2. This is a really great psych record, but it's really varied too. It's not just psych, it's a lot of different styles. Almost kind of like there's a little bit of vaudeville in here. There's a little bit of, should I say, white soul? I don't know. It's kind of all over the place, but in a good way. So another great album from 67, Electric Prunes, I Had Too Much a Dream Last Night. Another great one is the fourth album. This band was so prolific in 2 years, and they had the most brilliant songwriter. Their first 3 albums are just solid, great albums. And the fourth one, too, is really overlooked. It's called Everything's Playing by the Lovin Spoonful. This has some of John Sebastian's greatest songs. There are a few clunkers on here, but you have really great singer-songwriter type tunes that John Sebastian would later employ with his solo career. You've got Younger Generation, which was played at Woodstock, one of the songs he played at Woodstock. You have really cool songs like Boredom, Money, great acoustic bass songs. You had really nice produced hit songs like She's Still a Mystery and 6 O'Clock. Really great album. And the last to feature John Sebastian, by the way. You got Jerry Yester in this album replacing Zal Yanovonsky. He was busted for drugs, and I guess his reputation kind of sunk the band. The teenage bass fan base. So this was kind of like their final straw here. They did release one more album with Joe Butler at the helm, but it didn't really go anywhere after this. But this is a great album. Very seldom talked about. A couple of clunkers like Priscilla Millionera. And overall, an amazing album. Everything's Playing by the Lovin Spoonful. Now this album I've featured almost too many times, but I have to present it one more time. 1967 was full of amazing debuts. Are You Experienced? The Doors' first album, Velvet Underground and Nico, etc. This album is overshadowed by its monstrous, iconic hit single, but the rest of the album is just as good. For some reason, it just never really caught on with the rest of the majority of the public. And I'm talking about is the first Procol Harum album, which is as good as any of those debuts in a different way. This is a whole new sound for 67. Really cool Hammond organ by Matthew Fisher. The amazing vocals of Gary Brooker. B.J. Wilson, incredible drummer that even Jimmy Page was thinking of employing for Led Zeppelin. You've got Wider Shade of Pale on here. She Wandered Through the Garden Fence. Something Followed Me. Mabel. Surdays, Outside the Gates Of, with some amazing guitar playing from Robin Trower. This is a really early Trower here on this album. You got a Christmas Camel opening side 2, which kind of reminds me of Ballad of a Thin Man, just the piano and organ combo that Dylan did on Highway 61. You have the original version of Conquistador, which was a huge hit on the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra album back in the early 70s. I think it was like a #5 hit, the live version. Ends with amazing songs. Kaleidoscope, Salad Days are here again, and an incredible Hammond B3 workout from Matthew Fisher called Repent While Purges. This is a 5-star debut album. If you've never heard this, check it out. Procol Harum's debut. If you're into Sunshine Pop, this is a great unknown album from the Cyrkle, their second album called Neon. First side is just absolute Sunshine Pop perfection, if that's what you're into. It starts off with this really cool tune called Don't Cry, No Fears, No Tears Coming Your Way. Kind of a little more of a tough sound for the Cyrkle because they're kind of mellow and kind of, you know. Then you have The Visit. Weight of Your Worlds is great. I Wish You Could Be Here. It Doesn't Matter Anymore in 2 Rooms. A solid side 1 of great Sunshine Pop. Then you've got a kind of a flop single on side 2, which was really good as well, with really cool harpsichord. Please Don't Ever Leave Me. And yeah, it's just a really cool Sunshine Pop album. Doesn't really get talked about very much. The Cyrkle Neon from 67. Here's another album I would give a 5-star all the way to. This was originally just called The Small Faces in England when it was released, but here it's called, in US, it's called There Are But Four Small Faces. An incredible album, just full of chock full. You know, there's a couple of great hits on here. There's a lot of great album cuts. Starts off with Itchy Park, huge single in the Summer of Love. Another song that didn't really chart here in the US, but I think was pretty huge in the UK, Tin Soldier, with these amazing vocals by Steve Marriott. One of their best songs, Tin Soldier. Other great songs, Talk to You, another great Steve Marriott vocal. Up the Wooden Hills, My Way of Giving, which Rod Stewart would later reprise on the Gasoline Alley album. But their version, Small Faces version, is fantastic. I'm Only Dreaming, the flip side of the Itchy Park single, is beautiful. And then Get Yourself Together, which the Jam back in the 80s would later recover as well. Show Me the Way, Here Comes the Nice, another great single in the UK back in 67. Ends with Green Circles and Tell Me Have You Ever Seen Me, a perfect album. Great stuff. There are but 4 Small Faces. Another great one is the first Left Bank album. Almost perfect album except for a couple of clunkers. Pretty Ballerina, Walk Away Renee, excellent singles. She May Call You Up Tonight, Bartenders and Their Wives, I've Got Something on My Mind, Let Go of You Girl, all on side 1. Just great Baroque pop from 67. I think most of this was recorded in 66, but this album was released in early 67. You've got Shadows Breaking Over My Head, beautiful ballad on side 2. I Haven't Got the Nerve, which was the flip side of Walk Away Renee, and then ends with probably the most rocking song, if you could call it that, on side 2, Lazy Day, with amazing harmonies. Amazing harmonies all over this album. Really unique for 1967. Nobody really sounds like the Left Bank. They did one more album after this, which was pretty good, but that was pretty much it. Then we go to a little more Sunshine Pop. A lot of people have their thoughts about the Monkees, but I think during the year of 1967, they were releasing amazing hit singles. Why were they so great? Because great, brilliant songwriters were writing for them. Goffin and King, Neil Diamond, etc. And I think this is their best album. I've had this album since I was a child. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones, Ltd. Limited. Great record. Yeah, there are some clunkers, but there are some amazing songs on here. The Door into Summer, great Nesmith sung vocal. Love Is Only Sleeping, kind of a really cool psych song. You got Cuddly Toy, written by Harry Nilsson. Words written by, I forgot who wrote that one. I think Boyce and Hart. Great Mickey Dolenz vocal on that track. Mickey Dolenz really had a really cool voice, I think. Most of the singles by the Monkees were sung by Dolenz, and I think his voice, it's really unique. It doesn't sound like anybody else in 60s pop. Of course, you have the iconic Pleasant Valley Sunday written by Carole King and Gary Goffin. Daily Nightly, Don't Call on Me, Star Collector, another Goffin King song. Just really pretty solid record for the Monkees. This is a really solid record. Of course, there's always a few clunkers on every Monkees album. I think their first 4 albums have a lot of great hidden gems all over them. I don't think they've ever put out like a 5-star album, but there's a couple of 4-star albums in their discography. So yeah, Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones Limited. Great album from 67. How about a good psych album from 67? Vanilla Fudge, their debut. All covers, but all done in this like new kind of prog kind of way. This is kind of like the beginning of prog music coming into play in the music world here. You've got, opens up with an amazing version of Ticket to Ride by the Beatles, done in their own way. You've got Carmine Appice on drums. You've got just amazing harmonies throughout. Tim Bogart is on here on bass. You have You Keep Me Hanging On, which was a huge hit back in 67. This is the full version on the album. Then they have this really cool single, too, that was released around the same time called Take Me for a Little While, which is just awesome. And then they do this long version that concludes the album of Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. Really, really cool album. You know, normally I don't like covers, but they completely, these covers they do on this album completely transcend the originals. They do them their own way. And it's really, really cool. Really cool. Psych. Speaking of Psych, another great Psych album from 67 is the 13th Floor Elevators, Easter Everywhere. This is really an amazing record. Of course, you still have the Electric Jug by Tommy Hall, but I think it's kind of reduced a little bit on this album. The first album, it's almost overdone, the Electric Jug, but this album is just full of just really great Psych tunes. It's sung by Roky Erickson. Let me put on my glasses for a second. The ones I really dig on here, there's a song, the first song is amazing. Slip Inside This House, really, really cool, kind of slow Psych. She Lives in a Time of Her Own is amazing. They do a really great version of It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, retitled Baby Blue for this album. Really slow Psych version of that song by Dylan. The second side has some great stuff. Earthquake, Levitation, ends with Postures. Yes, this is what you call great 60s Psych. And then the last one on the list here, we have LA band, The Merry-Go-Round. This was Emmett Rhodes, singer-songwriter Emmett Rhodes' first band. Great local hit single called Live, which was later covered by the Bangles. Another great single called You're a Very Lovely Woman. But there's a lot of great deep cuts on here. One called On Your Way Out. Another one called How to Run Around on side 1. It's chock full of great like minor singles with great deep cuts as well. So yeah, just another great original sound there from the Merry-Go-Round from LA from 67. So those are about 14 unsung albums from 67. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Please press the subscribe button. Thank you. Bye-bye.